This afternoon we've asked you all to be here so we can get Zach Bonahoom kicked off here on his campaign for city clerk. And I'd like to, before we get started, recognize the other elected officials here. I see people from Paula Hughes' campaign here. John McGully is here. Mitch Harper is here. Tom Smith is here. All getting behind Zach for this race for city clerk. Zach has come up with some very, very good ideas. If many of you have been downtown, the one thing that frustrates me immensely is the parking meters. I will have meetings in my office, and during the meeting people will say, can we wait a minute? I've got to go out and feed the meter. And I thought, this is government, and people are telling me they have to go out and feed the meter? And it's frustrating. Some of the stuff that Zach has come up with, some of the ideas and some of the new ways of thinking is what we need to get in government. Not only city government, but county government. I'm term limited as the sheriff. 2 terms and I'm done. I think maybe every office ought to be term limited, because that causes people to get in there and think. And it gets new blood in it, new ways of thinking. And that's exactly what Zach is bringing to this office, is a new way to think, a new way to look at things. And that's why I'm so excited to be behind him. I think he is a great candidate. He is what Fort Wayne needs. He is the person for the job. And with that, I would like to introduce you to Zach Bonahoom. Zach?
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you all for being here today. Before I begin, I would like to recognize a few of the people representing downtown businesses here. Scott Herndon, he's the manager at Higher Grounds downtown. Mr. Dick Stoner from across the street, and Katie Leach from Aptera, which is also across the street. In the past 10 years, the city of Fort Wayne has hired 3 parking consultants at a cost of $25,000 each. Now, each report was full of useful information that other cities used to bring themselves up to date with technology. Fort Wayne, on the other hand, ignored the information almost in its entirety. And as you can see up here, $25,000 the first time, $25,000 the second time, and $25,000 the third time. $75,000 and no advice taken. In downtown Fort Wayne, we have between 4 and 5 full-time parking enforcement officers patrolling in SUVs between Monday and Friday until 5 p.m., excluding weekends and holidays. We have just over 600 meters, and they are all nearly located within a 12-block radius in downtown. So what that comes out to is 2.4 blocks per officer. Now, we've all heard about overzealous ticketing downtown, so I'm just going to outline 2 brief examples, although I could go on all day with them. The first one is one of my favorites. Now, remember, weekends and holidays are free to park downtown. A gentleman emailed me earlier this year and told me a story about how he parked down here on Good Friday. And he didn't feed his meter because it said weekends and holidays are free. And lo and behold, he got a $5 ticket because his meter was expired. He paid the ticket because it wasn't a big deal for him. But before he did that, he went to the state code and he looked and he saw that, that Good Friday was a recognized holiday with the state of Indiana. So obviously, I guess Fort Wayne doesn't recognize the same holidays as the state. That should be clarified on those signs. Another example, I had a breakfast meeting at Cosmos at Canterbury, and I met a couple from Fort Wayne, but they're retired. They were traveling all 92 counties in the state of Indiana. One day, they decided to compare our visitor center to other cities and counties around the state, and they parked in the new free space outside our visitor center. When they came out, they had a ticket. This is the kind of overzealous parking enforcement that we have in Fort Wayne, and it's a deterrent for residents and visitors. And I don't think it's the kind of welcome we want to give those folks when they come downtown. Now, in 2009, our city clerk proposed parking ticket amnesty, a program allowing citizens with unpaid parking tickets to pay those tickets without any late fees or late penalties. Now, some of these tickets dated as far back as 1999, and at the time, there were $500,000 in unpaid parking tickets. Through the program, it lasted a couple weeks. They collected nearly $22,000 of that money, and the remaining $478,000 was wiped from the books. So my first question is, why are we paying 5 full-time parking officers to patrol a 12-block radius if we're not even going to collect the tickets? We could save a lot of gas, a lot of maintenance, and a lot of insurance on those vehicles. The meter system exists for one reason, and that's to create turnover for customers for our small businesses downtown. I spent the last year researching options for Fort Wayne's parking system, and here is what I intend to present to the City Council next year. Number 1, and this is something that the consultants suggested 3 times in a row, the first offense should be a warning, no excuses. Number 2, The 5 officers should be patrolling on foot during good weather months. In addition to that, they can be ambassadors for the city so that when visitors or residents come downtown, they can answer any questions that those visitors have. This would go hand in hand with a required customer service training for those officers, and again, they'd be on foot for 6 to 8 months out of the year, and that would save on a lot of those vehicle expenses. Number 3, and this is something the consultant suggested, you can see it right over here, we need to look into new meter technology. This meter over here accepts coin, credit, and debit, and it's solar powered. You can take a look at it when I'm done here. It's been implemented in cities across the country, closest to home, Indianapolis and Columbus. They've been successful in those cities. It makes collection easier, it makes payment easier for parkers. On your way downtown, you can pull out your cell phone, you can get on your computer before you leave, and you can find the open spaces and the taken spaces, so essentially you can have your spot picked out before you get downtown. You can also pay by phone. So if you're in a meeting or if your lunch is going to run over, you can hop right on your phone, and with the click of a button, you can extend the time on that meter. Of course, you can pay by credit card, which makes things a lot simpler for people who don't have a whole basket of change in their cars. The kinks have been worked out. These things have been around for over 10 years, and like I said, they've been implemented in cities across the country. The best thing about these meters, in my opinion, is they fit onto the current infrastructure in our city. I could go out and install that meter in less than 30 seconds on the current posts and the current meter encasings that we have out there. Denver, Colorado has implemented these meters, and they've extended to advertisement on the posts. So different businesses downtown could advertise on the posts, or the Philharmonic or whoever wanted to advertise could advertise on those posts, and it'd be an extra revenue stream to offset the costs in the parking department. These meters under my plan can be installed in 4 years, and that's based on other cuts I've identified in the city clerk's budget. They can be installed in 4 years with no extra appropriations from the taxpayers. So essentially I've found money in the city clerk's department right now that can be transferred and used in 4 phases to install these meters, and I do encourage you to take a look at that in just a minute. Folks, I think it's time we took the advice that we paid for 3 times at $25,000 each. It's too much. It's like buying a house and then not moving into it, leaving it vacant. We need to take that advice, and there's no excuse for it. I was going to end there, but I think it's prudent, based on things that have gone on the last couple days, that I say one more thing. And this will be a message to the people of Fort Wayne. Folks, I think you deserve a city clerk and city council members who are going to treat your money like it's their own money. You deserve a city council and a city clerk who can stand up for their budget and can defend policies in their department. You know, I'm 22 years old, it's no big secret, and I've never held elected office. That's no big secret either. I've started and run 2 businesses. So I guess they tell me that makes me inexperienced. You know, Sandy Kennedy is more than 50 years older than me, and she's been in office for 28 years, 7 terms and 28 years. The irony that I find is that with all of my supposed inexperience and all of her, I guess, experience, I'm the one talking about issues. And Sandy Kennedy and the Democrats are talking about Twitter posts and other political minutia that has no bearing on the betterment of government or the city clerk's office. I think that the choice on November 8th is going to come down to a career politician who chronically makes excuses and fresh ideas, long overdue budget cuts, and no more excuses. Thanks. I'll take your questions.